All right. Asa, how are you coming along? Are you connected?
Yep, I'm connected.
I'm good to go. All right. Sounds good. Well, it's 8:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you to the three of you for joining us. We may have a few more join as we go along. It looks like we have a few more that have registered, but thanks for taking time with us this morning. So hard to believe that we're in session 10, which will be wrapping up the business plan guide for DSME discussion. We are really excited because the timing of this, which I think is very intentional on Inca's part, is leading right into the DSME conference, which we have Friday, and Inca will say a little bit more about that at the end of the call. But today we just wanted to wrap this section up. And Lisa, it looks like you're with Valley View, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So you work with Rick and Rob out there?
Yes.
Very good. And Dana joined us from Denver Health. And Lucas, great to have you with from Buena Vista Drugs. So just a little bit of background about this call. We'll advance to the next slide here. I'm Meredith Koob, and I'm the Senior Quality Improvement Facilitator for Telegen. And Telegen is contracted with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services for healthcare quality improvement. And we have a diabetes care test specifically, which is really aimed at helping reach additional population in Colorado affected by diabetes with diabetes self-management education. So that's my role. Inca, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, that'd be great. My name is Inca Taku. I'm here at the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. I am in the Diabetes and Cardiovascular Unit, and I work under a CDC grant to promote and increase participation in DSMES accredited and recognized programs across the state. And so that's what brings me to these calls. I co-facilitate them with Meredith to give you all an opportunity to join a monthly call with your peers to discuss barriers to DSME utilization, share success stories, and identifying tools that may be helpful in increasing DSMES utilization throughout the state. And so that's my role here at the health department, is just to support all of the great work that you do in your areas.
So Dana and Lisa, I think you're familiar kind of with what we've been doing and what we've been up to with these calls. Lucas, just a little bit of background for you. We've been going through the business plan guide for DSME programs, and that's available through links that Inca usually sends out, and we're actually wrapping that discussion up. And so this slide just shows a little bit about the structure of that, thinking of the DSME business plan guide as the overarching umbrella, if you will, and then your AADE or ADA DSME application is even a little bit more detailed, and then your DSME's clinical quality improvement project that sits within your program obviously then becomes very specific to your program. So we're wrapping this section up and look forward to hearing from all of you on thoughts for future sessions. So just a few housekeeping items. Remember to take yourself off of mute when you speak, and you can do that by pressing *6. That will also put you back on mute. Please remember to not place your line on hold so we can avoid any hold music. When you speak, just state your name so we know who is sharing, and we always like depth in sharing, so step up and step back. Chat, we always leave open. If you have questions and comments as we go along, feel free to chat them in, and we'll address what we can. If we don't have time, we'll follow up with any questions after the meeting. And we always make these meeting recordings available after the meeting, not only this call, but we do the same call at noon, and Inca will be sending out links for those recordings. And this is just a little exercise we like to do. So if you could left click on your pen up in the left-hand corner of your screen, which will give you an arrow. If you left click on that arrow and then drag and drop where you're located in the state. So Jane, I know you're here with us in Denver. There we go. And Lisa up in Glenwood Springs.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go right over you.
Oh, it's okay.
And Lucas in Buena Vista. So these pins on the map. Oh, go ahead, Lucas. I'm sorry.
Trying to figure out how to get that thing in there, but I'm the little pink one in the middle between the blue ones over in the middle of nowhere. Right below the O in Colorado.
Very good. So we just, the pins on the map are where we have current AADE accredited or ADA recognized programs. So just a visual to see who's joining us. Thank you for doing that. All right, Inka.
So some of like Maris mentioned, we are wrapping up the business guide. And the last several months, starting sometime in the fall, because the standards, the 10 required standards as part of your accreditation and recognition have changed slightly. We have been pulling one standard every call just to highlight that standard and kind of put it in the forefront of your mind. And also, we've been trying to tie that in with the topic of the call, kind of aligning it to kind of think through how you're meeting that standard. And so today, we're just going to kind of have a quick discussion on the level of readiness. Since starting May 1st, you will have to meet you'll be required from ADA or AADE to start meeting all 10 standards. Also, just identifying unmet needs for creating or updating a business plan. We broke it down by section every month, but what can we do to support your business plan moving forward, even though we won't be talking about it on the monthly call? What can we do to support you creating or updating a business plan? And then just have a facilitated conversation on the common topics we have captured since July, and what resources are available or resources needed that we could develop moving forward. So the next slide will be a poll.
Thanks, Inka. Sorry, I was on mute. Before we do our polling question, I wanted to hear from Lisa and Lucas. Lisa, do you currently have a program? Are you in the process of considering a program, or where are you at with that?
Yes, we're in the process of considering. I'd say that we're definitely hoping to have one by 2019. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And then Lucas, how about you?
So we're using the Strand platform, which is the platform for pharmacists that helps us get accredited to AADE, and I have submitted everything. So I am just waiting to hear back if they're going to be accredited or not. They help us getting all 10 standards and getting all that information ready. So I have everything that we should need for the 10 standards currently, and just waiting to hear back on if I got approved.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So it looks like I kind of flubbed things up with the polling question. I took time into that. But since we just have the three of you, we can hear your responses. So basically, we're asking, as of today, thinking about the status of your own DSME business plan. Is the first option, we've never had a DSME business plan, but have started or completed one. Second option, we have updated an earlier version of our DSME business plan within the last year. We are in the process of updating our DSME business plan now. We recognize the importance of updating the DSME business plan, but haven't gotten to it yet. We don't see value in updating the plan, or we don't have a program not applicable. So just a quick round robin. Lisa, do you have a DSME business plan started?
Well, we're in the very early stages of that, so I'm kind of reviewing, hoping to get a little more information on it and go back and listen to some of these that I've missed. So, yeah, not yet, but we're getting there.
Great.
Okay.
And Dana, how about you all?
Yeah, I think we are in the process of updating our DSMU business plan as we kind of gather more information about like reimbursement and take into account the new standards and everything.
Very good. And then Lucas, given that you've submitted your application, which would you say that which of these choices is most appropriate to you?
I'm maybe going to begin if I had to do something else real quick, so. So I think we've kind of created a decent new business plan and trying to just follow through with it now. I have a decent structure in place already because we have fourth-year pharmacy students who have been doing some diabetic education for several years now, so kind of the workflow part of it is set for me, but definitely the billing and all that's going to be new, but we kind of have our business plan updated and just kind of trying to implement it now.
All right. That'll help with our facilitated discussion. So thank you all for that. Okay.
So this is the link in case you want to have the detailed version of the standards put out by the Diabetes Journal. So here's the link, it's available. And then this is an overview of the 10 standards. Some questions I have to you all is what support has ADA or AAD provided? And is there anything else we can add to this technical assistance support? So probably Dana, you have the most, since you are an approved ADA, maybe can you speak to what have they done in the last 6 months to support that you're meeting these standards, and do you feel that you have what you need, or is there additional things that Meredith and I can provide moving forward?
Yeah, so they put out a new quality coordinator guide, which basically it's like a packet, and it has like step-by-step instructions for, with the updates highlighted and everything. So you can kind of page through and make sure that you have all of your elements in order. So I printed that off, and I've been going through ours, just making sure that, everything is in order, should get audited, and making sure that we're meeting any additional requirements. So that's been really helpful. I haven't jumped on any of the calls recently, but the sharing calls that the ADA does, those were particularly helpful, especially when we were building our program, because sometimes it doesn't always feel clear exactly how to structure your program to meet the elements. And so they have calls with the ERP staff members who can answer specific questions about, what exactly does it mean to, have ongoing support, and how should you structure your program to meet that standard. So those were super helpful. I haven't jumped on any of them recently because I feel pretty comfortable with the standards, but if you're a new program, I would highly recommend them.
Great. Any one standard in particular, Dana, that you feel less unsure about that we could support you in, or kind of just walking through the process this next year just to make sure you meet all the requirements?
I think it's mostly walking through the process, and for us, I think it's minor updates really that we're needing to do to our program to meet some of the newer stuff. But yeah, I don't think we in particular need any other support, but I'll certainly let you guys know as I continue to. I'm still working through. I think the deadline to meet it is May 1st, so I've still been working through the packet to make sure I have everything.
And not to put you in the spot again, Dana, but to provide Lucas and Lisa, do you have any advice just as they both are going through the accreditation? You know, Lucas is going through it now. Luckily, you know, he's got the support of Creative Platform, which is an organization that does a lot of the work for him to connect his pharmacy EHR to meet all of the standards. And then Lisa, more so, will have to do a lot more back-end work on her own. But do you have any advice, just when you started 3 years ago through this process, that you would like to share with them?
I mean, really, we kind of used the standards, obviously, as like a roadmap for building the program. So, and I think just kind of using that as your instruction manual, and then reaching out as much as possible to either ADA or AADE, because they are more than happy to help. And, you know, I was pretty much in constant contact with them during the time that we were building our program, just to make sure that the elements that we were including were going to meet the standards. So I would say, you know, there's no level of contact that's too much. They're very happy to help. So definitely don't be shy, for sure.
Any thoughts come to mind, Lucas or Lisa, as you start to go down this process? And this is one of the intents of our calls, is to connect, to meet other program staff running and operating the DSME program, and it's a great opportunity for you to build relationships and reaching out to other program staff directly to ask them questions as well. And so really this is where we can share our successes and barriers. So
Meredith, can I say one other thing real quick?
yes, go ahead, of course.
So I would also say start with billing in mind, and not just the general billing rules, but get your billing and reimbursement departments on board from the get-go, because that's one mistake that we made. We knew that there were billing codes available to use, but we didn't really look and understand, you know, if they were going to be applicable to us here at Denver Health. And then now, as our grant funding is ending, we have been scrambling to figure out a good way to maximize our reimbursement. So if you can get your billing and reimbursement folks on board early, they can help you decide what codes or what format is going to work well for your particular organization, and then you can kind of build your program around that to maximize reimbursement, because we ended up changing our program structure quite substantially on the back end because we didn't realize that we weren't going to be able to use certain elements of the billing. So it just makes it a lot easier to get people on board from the front end.
Yep, that's very good advice, Dana. And just to kind of give a little context to Lucas and Lisa, Denver Health is a federally qualified health center, and so they have different billing structure than our traditional health systems, health clinics. And the most challenging part of that is that they cannot bill for group classes. And so that's something that we've been working closely with Jana to figure out how they can get maximum reimbursement, since a lot of the hours, 9 out of the 10 hours, is group classes. And so just to kind of give you a little bit of context of what she was talking about, but for both of your organizations, you can bill for group classes with that G code. So.
Okay. Great. And I'm sorry, I have to let you guys go. Like I said, my text gone, and so I'm trying to listen, but I don't think it's going to work very well.
No worries, Lucas. You can always reach out and then listen to the recordings after.
Yeah, I'll do that. And actually, I'm having my lead technician, because I can't go this Friday, but she's going to be coming down to Denver to go to the conference thing. So her name's Lauren, and she'll be there.
Great.
Representing us. So.
Great.
Cool.
Excited to have you on the call.
Thank you, and you guys have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So just moving on quickly for our last few minutes to the next facilitated conversation. So we've been tracking, Meredith and I, a list of tools we thought maybe will be helpful for you all that we would like to start moving on as future calls potentially, or future work groups. But, DSME data tracking when using paper documentation, some of our sites don't have EHRs. Processes and systems for DSME documentation, verifying communication dollar responsibility prior to DSME participation. I know, especially with Medicare, since there is a deductible, Medicaid does not have a deductible. Converting DSME referrals to participants, demonstrating return on investment to executive leadership, and then, possibly doing a PDF fillable form for this business plan guide as another idea. And so, going on to the next slide, we just wanted to quickly capture, so these are the 3 really common topics we found that consistently were brought up in all of the calls. Provider engagement was definitely number 1. Every call there was always someone mentioning something about how do you get providers on board? How do you get providers to know about your program? How do you get providers to refer to your DSME program? So that buy-in. Another one was just EHR efficiencies, especially around care planning and the feedback loop. And then demonstrating the value of the DSMES program to executive leadership, because it is really hard in the beginning for those first few years, just trying to build your program that you may be operating in the red, but how do you operate breaking even or even making money to support your program. So just quickly in these next few minutes, what resources do you have available? If you just want to pick one of these topics, what do you feel like that you have available that works, or a resource that you feel that we need to develop?
I think that for help, the biggest challenge for us has obviously been the sustainability and the trying to get to operating as close to neutral as possible. And since, we don't think that we're going to be able to get quite to neutral, I love the idea of having like a resource or a document that with ideas for ways to show return on investment. Because I think, obviously, there's a lot of literature available showing how valuable DSME is in, future cost savings, but to have something where, like me in particular, I could translate data from my program into that ROI, that would be really, really cool, I think.
Yep, awesome, great.
This is Lisa. For me, some of the things that come to mind is, as far as the electronic health record, I'm working out of cardiac rehab, and a lot of our documentation is on paper. So I didn't really know. I've just heard, through these talks that can be difficult and that the paperwork can be extensive at sometimes, so I didn't really know. Yeah, that would be a good resource in order to maybe get something going electronically, if that's even possible, or if anybody else is doing paper and what that looks like.
We had a call on that specifically. I think it was January, Lisa.
Okay.
So I will double check and just kind of forward that to you, but we had a whole call on EHR efficiencies, and we did have someone on the call that does not use EHR, but a lot of our sites have two systems. They have their own system to run their DSMES program, and then they have their health systems program. So a lot of the conversation was getting those two to talk to each other because they don't, and so what this process is developed to get the information out of their electronic DSMES program to get that information into the health system EHR to the provider to see what education was provided. So,
okay.
But Epic, Denver Health has a closed system, right? Dana, you have, your DSMES program is an Epic, right? And so it's an internal, you have no problem communicating with your providers, right? From my memory?
Yep, you're correct. Yeah, we're lucky enough to just have an internal system.
Yes,
that all
so they have
providers
Epic.
are linked into.
Yeah. So we have it across the board, Lisa. So,
Okay.
and people have been successful doing just paper, absolutely. It's a little bit more time consuming. But I will share that. I will share that specific call notes with you so you can review that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, moving forward, Meredith, thinking through our next set of calls, I don't know if you want to speak to this, Meredith.
Sure. So one of the last sections of the DSME Business Plan Guide is talking about the Continuous Quality Improvement Plan. And we heard some fascinating information from Marianne Hodorowitz, who is a national expert, about how many programs were shut down specifically because they had not adhered to this requirement. And so that's one of the sessions that will be covered in depth in the conference on Friday, and we chose not to focus on it on this call. I know you have the registration for Friday, but Lisa and Dana, are you both planning on being there Friday?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay, great. So you'll definitely hear a lot in regards to the CQI plan and have tools to help with that. And then really what we've heard for feedback based on the conference and all of those that are attending, and also what we've identified as trends on these calls, then Inka and I will be determining the future agendas of the sharing calls accordingly. So we're not quite sure what that looks like because we want to, again, look at the response of sessions at the conference and just really be in tune to everyone's needs when we're just designing that. That all being said, we will still have the next call on Wednesday, May 16th at both 8:30 and noon.
Yep, and both of you are attending the conference on Friday, so super excited. Registration starts at 10:15, light breakfast, and we're going to start promptly at 8. So, excited for the event.
Do either of you have any questions about just logistics for Friday that we can answer?
No, I think I looked over the email and it was pretty comprehensive, so.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but I'm excited to be there.
Great. Sounds good. It'll be good to see you again, Dana, and excited to meet you in person, Lisa. So with that, we can go ahead and close out this call, and we'll see you and talk to you again in just a few days.
Thank
Thank you both.
Thank you,
for
guys.
the evaluation for the call.
Will do.
Okay. Bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.